Johnson Asiedu Nketiah had granted an interview to a radio station, I believe in the Bono Ahafo region, and he had said in that interview, he had bemoaned a certain situation in that interview. Asiedu Nketiah was worried that currently in the NDC party, there is emerging two groups of people, those who support the third term agenda and those who are against the third term agenda. Asiedu Nketiah said to the interview that if you are against third term agenda in the NDC today, you are thought to be an opponent of President John Dramani Mahama. And if you are in favor of the third term agenda today, you are thought to be an ally of President John Dramani Mahama. And he bemoaned this process and said that it was creating a lot of problem. He also said that this was being created by members of the New Patriotic Party who are piling pressure on their government and who are insisting that something has to be said. We can count at least 3 occasions where President John Dramani Mahama has indicated that he's not interested in a third term agenda. However, there's an application before the Supreme Court inviting an interpretation of Article 66, 3 and 4, which actually limits the term to 2 terms. There's all kinds of interpretations that are being put on it. It looks like it's very straightforward, but we have to wait for what the courts will do. But more importantly, there's another group in Ashanti region that have risen up, and they have held a press conference, and they are calling on President John Dramani Mahama to continue with his third term agenda. To continue with a third term, to seek a third term, I should say, and be president for a longer period because they are worried that the NDC perhaps is not finding anyone else. Given all what we know about Johnson Asiedu Nketiah's interest in the presidential tickets for the NDC, this interview was particularly telling. Asiedu Nketiah spoke in Akan in the first interview on Sunday morning, but then the next day on Monday, or I think 2 days later on Monday, he appeared on Joy FM's PM Express, and it was hosted on that occasion by Evans Mensah, the seasoned journalist at Joy FM. And again, Asiedu Nketiah reiterated the same position, but in the English interview on Joy FM, Asiedu Nketiah accepted that he doesn't rule it out that he will seek the mandate of the NDC to become his leader. First, let's listen to Asiedu Nketiah complaining about the third term. Then we'll come to the touchscreen and analyze it. Have a look at this video, viewers.
I've always said that I have a problem with the way the debate about third term or not a third term is going. Okay. Because you don't focus on one individual in making a law. If you do that, you make a mistake. You see, the underlying principle is about whether the nation should remove term limits or to hold on to our constitutional term limits for presidents. It's not about President Mahama. So I get offended when people narrow it down to an extent that when anybody says he's for third term, that, oh, he likes John Mahama. When he's against third term, oh, he doesn't like John Mahama. We are being too simplistic. Why? Previously, we didn't have presidential term limits. This was introduced as a means of ensuring that we can institute power alternation in the country.
Okay, so for the party chairman of the NDC to grant this interview back-to-back on an Akan radio and a English radio, it suggests that it's a matter that really worries him and he's taking it very seriously. We had done some analysis here the other day to show that it was not about NPP, and we went back to show it. You can watch that on social media because we quoted from Professor Kwame Nkrumah's book and Obeda Samuel's book and our own book. We'll talk a bit about our book tonight though, but that's a different matter. So we had done that story. Tonight, our concern is to explain to viewers where this whole third term thing is coming out. So what is the relevance of this matter? Why are people thinking about their third term? It is one of those things that we have always described here as one of the maladies of democracy. It is one of the maladies of democracy. It's very concerning to people who are in power all the time. The way the democratic arrangement has been done, you win, a presidential candidate wins one term and he's also able to win a second term. Usually it's very difficult to remove a presidential candidate when he wants a second term. It's happened all over the world. It is not impossible, but it's difficult. In fact, in Ghana, we did it in 2016. President John Dramani Mahama was in his first term. Except that President Mahama was affected by the fact that he was holding an NDC second term kind of thing. But the good thing for the NDC was that President Mahama was able to run again, and that opportunity was lost and blown away, and President Mahama lost the election in 2016. But this is what always happens. When somebody has won a first term, for the first 4 years, the party in power is united. Maybe united is the wrong word. They work in unison. You know, they may not be united, but they work in unison because they are all working towards the presidential candidate, who is the sitting president, who will run again. So you don't hear anything in the midterm. Midterm is 2 years down the line. You don't hear anything in the midterm about somebody wanting to challenge the president, and that's what brings about the unison. So a President Kufuor or a President Rawlings or a President Akufo-Addo takes office, and he goes through the process. He's running again. When a president is running again, usually, he is able to tell the people what he has not been able to do and what he will do. He's already in the chair, and he understands where his shortfalls are, and he knows how to continue. Often, these presidents are also vulnerable to make promises, and they also get vulnerable to rush in the last minute of the election to put things together to give the people the confidence. So the president who is running for a second term is running basically on believability, whether the people believe what he's saying, that I couldn't do this, but I'll be able to do it this time. That's fundamentally what happens in the second term. But also, and very importantly, the president runs with the system. When the president is running in the second term, he's running with everyone. So if I'm chief director at the Ministry of Energy and I'm working for my boss, the minister, and my boss's president is running for a second term, I know that if the president crosses the line, all the work that we are doing, we will be able to continue. Because by the time you are ending the first term, some deals are in the middle, some are here, some are 3/4, some are 75%, some are 80%, some are 60%. You definitely need to cross to finish some of these things. And so many people want that to happen, because they are part of it. They all want to be part of history. So chief directors want the president to cross the line. Military people, military commanders who are leading the Ghana Armed Forces and leading all the other forces, they know that they all run with the president. If the president crosses the line, they will also cross the line. The most important, the police, they're all running with the president. If the president crosses the line, they cross the line. So if you are IGP at the election and the president is elected, most likely you're going to continue to be IGP for a while. Maybe the IGP has an agenda. He wants to do something for the police. All of those things will kick in, after the election. So the president who is running for a second term always has an advantage. Now, after the president wins a second term, and often you will see that the second term is won narrowly, narrower than the first term victory. So Kufuor comes in 2000 with a huge majority after the second round election. In 2004, there's a reduced vote. You see that Akufo-Addo comes in with 1 million votes. In the second term, is reduced by half. You see all that happen. Barack Obama comes in with a big vote and then is reduced, etc., etc. So you see that happen. Now, when the president has now been elected for the second term, and he takes the oath and he swears at the Independence Square, from the day the president takes the oath, which will be his last presidential oath, the consternation, the juggling begins. Who is going to inherit the president? Because it's a democratic establishment. It's not the president's child. It's not transferring onto the offspring of the president. No, it's transferring onto that minister, deputy minister, party activist, party chairman, general secretary, whoever, who is now presenting himself as the next leader of the party. Now, that always creates a problem. It always creates some difficulties. And I'm going to show you why that is so. It creates difficulties because people are not able to work in unison. But by the time that is happening, the government has already seen 4 years of solid activity, 4 years of unison. A lot of things have been put in place that cannot be reversed. So the damage of the battle for the soul of the party, which happens in the second term, is reduced because some of the policies have been put firmly in place. So, for instance, Akufo-Addo puts in free SHS right in the first term. So by the time there's juggling over who is going to replace him, whether it's going to be Alan Martin, whether it's going to be Kojo Poku, or it's going to be Kennedy, or Hine Japan, or it's going to be Muhammadu Bawumia, a policy like free SHS is so well firmed up that nothing will happen to it. That's how it happens. So the fight will come all the time. I'll explain to you why that then makes the government vulnerable all the time. And then the opposition candidates are able to slip through and win the election. I'll explain that to you. So now, John Dramani Mahama is sworn in on 7 January 2025. And he has a 4-year term. And it is his last term, but it is his first term. So within 1.5 years, we are already beginning to hear. In fact, it was in the first year. And political commentators were complaining. Kwesi Pratt called it nauseating. That what is all this fight over who is coming after? It is very natural. We came here and said all the time that this is very natural. Nobody's going to be able to stop it. Congratulations to the NDC National Council of Elders. They managed to stop it. And it was President Mahama's efforts. He called them into a meeting and said, look, you guys need to stop this. So since that, we have seen Asiedu Nketiah here. He has halted his, what did he call it? Thank you tours. In fact, Asiedu Nketiah's thank you tours were directly attacked by another minister, the Minister for Education, Honorable Idrisu Haruna. He directly attacked Asiedu Nketiah's thank you tour. We have also seen the cessation of the Chief of Staff's exercising, which was given a connotation as preparing to be president. I don't know how, but I mean, it was given such a connotation. The Chief of Staff has also halted it. We've seen that. Now, Musa Dankwa was also guiding us to a Nketiah Forcing inheritance. Nketiah Forcing is the Minister for Finance. And Musa Dankwa is a pollster. And Musa Dankwa's polls were now revealing that Nketiah Forcing is actually the candidate to watch. In certain circles, political circles, had been mentioned that Atu Forcing is probably the chosen candidate of the president, etc., etc. In one of his speeches, Asiedu Nketiah told the interview that he has been told by some pastors that if he is opposed to John Dramani Mahama, then President Mahama will bring Nketiah Forcing to challenge him, etc., etc. So Musa Dankwa then drew attention to that. But since the Council of Elders spoke, that has stopped. But it hasn't really stopped. Now, those who are calling for President Mahama to run a 3rd term, they are not just wanting NDC to be in power for a long time. No, let's be fair to them. They are thinking that if John Dramani Mahama is not on the ballot, it significantly reduces the NDC chances of winning the election. That's the point they are making. Because you see, if the president is not running, everything breaks loose. And this is a government that has been there for only 2 years. And they have not had the solidification of a first term, 4 years, where they can solidify things, positions, appointments, policy, etc., etc. All of the NDC policy is going haywire. 133 is now turned into markets. What's the other thing was it? As for the Okada, we have not mentioned it in this session. Teacher training is not working. Licensure exams is not working. Almost everything that was promised was not working. Plus new problems they are having. Water shortages. Party people are complaining. Malik Basintale says that all the promises have been delivered in 1 year. Nobody wants to hear it. They go to a TN meeting and they are singing the elephant is that kind of thing. So there's quite a bit of chaos going on within the context of a united NDC. Now, those who are calling for the 3rd term are saying that, look, if we can, it is so much better to keep John Dramani Mahama on the ballot. Let me give me the ballot paper and let me explain something to people. Now, the reason why they are saying that is that the difficulty of any ruling party that is exiting its president is about the ballot paper. Now, here is the ballot paper for 2028, viewers. This is a ballot paper for 2028. Okay, so put on the screen, let them see it. Yes, great. This is the ballot paper for 2028. Now, look at the ballot paper. Now, this ballot paper has only one candidate on it. Candidate number 1 is Dr. Muhammadu Bawumia of the New Patriotic Party. Candidate number 2 is the NDC's candidate. We don't know who it is. Candidate number 3 is Afra Franto. It's probably Alanche Martin, but we don't know who it is. Candidate number 3 is UP. Candidate number 4 is Cheddar or something. We don't know who it is. Then there's CPP as well. We don't know who all that is. So if I'm a member of any interest group, I'm a member of teachers and we are unhappy about something, I'm a member of even the forces, police, and when they are happy about something, we know that in 2028 there will be an election because we have all come to accept the 4-year term. We don't want coup d'etat, do we? No. So we've come to accept the 4-year term. If I'm a teacher, I'm a nurse, I'm a doctor, who am I taking my matter to? What is going to happen in 2028? The only certainty about 2028, for us men, God decides everything. But the only certainty for men in 2028 is that Mahamudu Bawumia is on the ballot. He's already there. He's waiting for the rest to come. Are we going to wait to see who comes at NDC before we go and tell him our matter? No, we can tell Mahamudu Bawumia because he's already on the ballot. That's the problem. It will plague any ruling government. MPP went through the same problem. When MPP were jostling about whether it's going to be Alanche Martin or whether it's going to be Mahamudu Bawumia, I used to go to ministers' offices and we are arguing about it, and some people are arguing strongly as Alanche Martin. All that time these arguments were going on, John Dramani Mahama was comfortably on the ballot for 2024 already. So these NDC guys who are asking for third term are concerned that this pictorial thing is working on people's minds. MPP have made it worse by electing Mahamudu Bawumia very early. I have to say that was a master stroke. And one day we have to award the person who brought that idea. Kwabene Japan and his supporters believe that Kwabene Japan was the one who brought this idea. There are other people who think they brought the idea. But whoever brought that idea has delivered a master stroke, because this has driven home the point harder that Mahamudu Bawumia is firmly on the ballot. So if I'm a teacher today and my allowance has been messed up and we are a group of teachers and we want to complain about it, where do we go? Mahamudu Bawumia. Even if we have access to John Mahama and we go and complain to John Mahama, the sitting president today, and he can't do anything about it today, it means he can't do anything about it today and he cannot do anything about it tomorrow, because tomorrow John Mahama is not there. He's not on the ballot. So if you want to deal with tomorrow, you deal with Mahamudu Bawumia, who is already on the ballot. This is the problem. This is the whole third term conversation. It's about this. Now, there are MPP people who have told me that, in fact, if the third term agenda comes on, it's actually better for MPP, because then they wouldn't need a campaign message. They will now rally the Ghanaian people against the NDC, that the NDC is trying to turn upside down our most cherished 1992 constitution. And that campaign message is a powerful campaign message that can win. Asiedu Nketiah seems to agree with that message. How are you going to talk about third term? How are you going to do? How are you even going to start? Nobody's going to accept it. So drop the third term. But if you drop the third term too, you are giving advantage to the one who is already on the ballot. It could be a significant advantage. If Mahamudu Bawumia and his MPP have mobilization skills, they can mobilize. We attended the demonstration last Friday. Look at the numbers that shocked everybody. The demonstration was last Thursday, yes. Look at the numbers that shocked everybody. Because this is the opposition leader. He is already on the ballot. Nothing is going to change that. He's going to be on the ballot for MPP, so you can rally behind him. This is the reason why the third term agenda is popping up very strongly. And whether President Mahama likes it or not, there is going to be incessant pressure on him to do the third term. The only people who can stop it, nip it in the bud, is the Supreme Court. Will the Supreme Court nip it in the bud, or will the Supreme Court create a situation of more anxiety? By that I mean, some lawyers are arguing that the matter before the Supreme Court is moot. Nobody has said he's going to run a third term. So the Supreme Court is likely to say that they are not a court of theory. They are not an academic institution. They don't do things that are yet to happen. Let somebody take the form, come to them and say somebody is violating Article 66, and then they can rule on it. If the Supreme Court were to give that kind of ruling, it opens up the door. It gives more room for new groups to be formed. Mahama third term in Bono Ahafo. Mahama third term in Ashanti, which has already started. Mahama third term in Greater Accra region. And there's going to be incessant pressure on President Mahama, whether he likes it or not, to consider this, because those people are thinking that if you don't do that, you are probably going to lose the election. Here, we're going to show you, where do these NDC members stand on a third term for President John Mahama. And we are going to use green, let's take green to show you those who support a third term. We're going to use yellow to show you those who are neutral and we think are undecided. And we're going to use red to show you those who are against. So let's start with the green. They're going to put a green there. Okay, all right, yeah. Okay, excellent. Yes, there you go. So for the green, We have the following. Now, these are the NDC key decision makers that we believe have sworn to John Mahama. It's not about whether they like the third term or not. Whatever John Mahama wants to do, they will support him. They will support him until it ends. They will support him until the court stops them. They will support him until the Ghanaian people say they don't want it. These are the people I've put on the screen. It's your frontline fighters for the third term if John Mahama wants to do it. First, it's Defense Minister Eric Ejay. He's green. If John Mahama wants to go a third term, he can count on Eric Ejay 1,000%. Eric Ejay will always be there. Stanislav Dogbe, Deputy Chief of Staff. If John Mahama is running a third term, he can count on Stan Dogbe 5,000%. Stan Dogbe will be there. Julius Debra, if John Mahama wants to run a third term, he can count on his Chief of Staff. Julius Debra will stop everything he's doing. He will stop the athletics, stop the walking, stop everything he's doing, and he'll follow John Mahama for the third term. This is Elvis Efrie Ankara. I can tell you, my last bottom dollar, that if John Mahama wants to do a third term, he's going to have a straight green from Elvis Efrie Ankara. He's going to support him to the hilt. Deputy Attorney General Justice Sremsai is just another of those who are going to support John Mahama if the president decides to run a third term. K. Salato Forsen will be in the saddle as well. These are the top 11. John Mahama is the coach for the third term. Sam Nate George of communication, for sure. He will support John Mahama if John Mahama wants to do a third term. And then you have the Greater Accra Regional Minister. It's the only regional minister we added that he also will support the agenda for a third term. I have here Emmanuelama Kofi Boa, Minister for Lands, who will do the support John Mahama for the third term. Deputy Minister John Dumelo is another. He will support John Mahama for a third term. James Agalga, incoming majority leader, he will also support John Mahama. And then you have Minta Akando. Minta Akando is green. He's going to support John Mahama for a third term if the president decides to do it. Mahama Yarega, Minister for Local Government, incoming, he's going to support John Mahama if John Mahama wants to do it. Lisbeth Ofosu-Ajare is the Minister for Trade. He's going to support John Mahama. And see who we put at the end. Iroko boss, Raymond Acha, he is deep in the pot. If John Mahama wants a third term, you can be sure Raymond Acha will be there. Are we done with the green? Let's shift to yellow if you can. Yes, great. So these are the yellows. And that's where the conversation gets interesting. The yellow undecided, they look like they're undecided, the yellow people. I begin with Presidential Advisor on Legal Affairs, Marietta Brew Apia-Opon. Our investigation suggests that he's asking questions. What's the third term about? When you hear people do that, that's yellow. Dominic Ayini, the Learned Attorney General and Minister of Justice, yellow. Third term, yellow. Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa, the Minister for Foreign Affairs, yellow. Third term, yellow. And then I have Kofi Adams, Minister for Sports, also third term, yellow. This is the Minister for Gender. Yes, Naamo Molate, and also we put her in yellow. This is where it gets very interesting. Johnson Asiedu Nketiah is a red, big red, huge, black, red. He's not interested in third term. Third term should not be canvassed. It's a bad decision. That's Asiedu Nketiah, red. Augustus Guzitano is red. But Augustus Guzitano comes in with another explanation. Let's get back to the studio. Let me explain to the people about Guzi. Now, the cadres, and I've spoken to one or two of them. They are in Nketiah and Koforidua. I engage them every now and then to just understand what's happening. The cadres might be needed to support the third term agenda, but they have a request. Their request is that they will only support a third term agenda if Augustus Guzitano is going to become the running mate instead of Professor Jenano Opoku-Agyeman. That's very dicey. We are investigating that in a better way. By the time we come on Thursday or next week, I'll get you a full... Some of them want to talk. I really don't want to put them on TV yet. But some of the cadres who call me, they want to talk. That they will support that third term agenda. They tell me the so-called third term agenda. Only if the Mahama ticket is going to recognize the role of cadres in NDC by nominating Augustus Guzitano as the running mate for the third term agenda. So you have John Mahama 1, Guzitano 2. On that basis, they will support the agenda. Otherwise, they won't. Guzi himself is a constitutional Democrat, and he doesn't want a third term agenda. Mubarak Muntaka, the Interior Minister, is a red. He doesn't want third term agenda. Idrisu Haruna, the Education Minister, is a red. He will not support third term agenda. You have Minister for Agriculture, Eric Opoku, he's a red. He will not support any third-term agenda. You have Minister for Works and Housing, Ibrahim, what's his name? Ahmed Ibrahim, Honorable Ahmed Ibrahim. Honorable Ahmed Ibrahim was the big story about the reshuffle. And everyone has been told that Honorable Ahmed Ibrahim was a casualty of the reshuffle because he is a campaign manager for the Johnson Asiedu Nketiah ticket for 2028. And as Minister for Local Government, Ahmed Ibrahim is reported to have been working with MMDCs and the local government system and delivering that platform to the ever-popular Johnson Asiedu Nketiah. I don't know whether that's true or not, but that's the allegation that's been made against Ahmed Ibrahim. Now, get back on the TV so they can see Fifi Kwete. Now, Fifi Kwete is also there, and Fifi Kwete is a deep red for third-term agenda.